Tomorrow marks the 241st anniversary of America's first whistleblower law, passed by Continental Congress in 1778.
Wow.
Last year, the Senate unanimously declared July 30th National Whistleblower Appreciation Day, and tomorrow will actually mark the annual celebration of Americans whose actions have uncovered fraud.
Joining us to discuss the importance of protecting whistleblowers is Stephen Cohn. He is one of the nation's leading whistleblower lawyers and a founding attorney trustee of the National Whistleblower Legal Defense and Education Fund. His book, The New Whistleblower's Handbook, is a guide to exposing workplace wrongdoing and providing protection from retaliation. Great to have you, sir.
Great, thank you so much.
Tell us about the book. What should people get out of it?
Well, the book is straightforward. If you're going to blow the whistle, know what your rights are. I've represented whistleblowers 35 years, and the biggest mistake is people taking that step without being fully prepared legally.
They should have your number on speed dial.
That's
basically.
right, that's right. But I mean, there are fantastic whistleblower laws that pay whistleblowers millions of dollars. But there's other ways people blow the whistle, they end up in prison. So do it right. That's what this book's all about.
Okay, so what does do it right mean? I mean, so you said we have fantastic whistleblower laws. Give us an example of the good whistleblowers, the ones who did it right, got paid, exposed fraud.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about one person who did it right and wrong. Bradley Birkenfeld, Swiss banker, the first Swiss banker to come forward and expose the whole rotten mess out there. His case triggered the largest fraud investigations ever, billions back to America. But he walks into the United States, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he hires criminal defense lawyers who don't know, and they take him to the Department of Justice where he blows the whistle. Well, guess what? He's just admitted he's a Swiss banker.
Right.
He's just admitted to being a felon. On the other hand, there was an IRS whistleblower office, which guarantees confidentiality and pays monetary rewards. So when he went to the Justice Department, he got prosecuted. So we took him, he said, whoa, we took him to the IRS whistleblower office. They processed him as a whistleblower. He never had to be prosecuted. And then he is given the largest individual whistleblower reward in history. For what he did, he got paid $104 million as a mandatory reward. We had to fight for 4 years for that because of the earlier mess up. Well, there it is. Prison, multi-million-dollar award. Which office do you go to? How do you assert your rights? It's interesting. Just Friday, the D.C. Circuit, a very powerful federal court, upheld the right of whistleblowers to be anonymous, understanding that whistleblowers, if people know who they are, can be crucified.
Right.
So this ability to be confidential and anonymous is critical. But you can lose that right, like in the first week of blowing the whistle, if you do it wrong.
Right.
Well, and you're getting to kind of the key thing, which is who is deemed a whistleblower, right, versus who is deemed as just exposing secrets that the government didn't want exposed. So how do you make sure that you root yourself into that whistleblower category?
Okay, so let's go back to America's first whistleblower law, 1778, July 30th, which I dug up all here in the Whistleblower's Handbook, the whole history. Listen to this. This is the resolution. It's the duty of all persons. It's your duty, right, to give the earliest information to Congress or any other appropriate authority. That still is the law today. So you can go to Congress generally and blow the whistle, or an appropriate authority. In the Birkenfeld case, that was the IRS whistleblower office. That's why you have to know what your rights are. Where are these appropriate authorities?
Right.
If you blow the whistle in the incorrect way, you could lose all your rights.
So I think one of the most interesting things about this is that I don't think anybody disagrees that people should be blowing the whistle on fraud or any of this, but especially when it comes to national security and political questions. Do you ever worry that that a lot of this hero worship of whistleblowers has emboldened some very controversial cases, particularly like Daniel Ellsberg or in Edward Snowden's case? I mean, do they qualify as whistleblowers?
Okay, roll back to Ellsberg. So in Ellsberg, there were no whistleblower laws like there are today. There was the First Amendment, and the First Amendment says you have the right to go to Congress, and he did try to go to Congress with his information. No one would touch it. This law from 1778 says the appropriate authority. When are the American people the appropriate authority. That's what was dealt with in the Ellsberg case, because there was no other way to do it. Now let's roll to Snowden. Now there are laws in place.
And this was President Obama's argument at the time, which is if he had wanted, he could have come forward, and there was this whole whistleblower process.
And extremely weak. And ineffective, but we represented national security whistleblowers, and we've gotten them on TV. No indictments, no issues. It's difficult. But you have to begin with the premise. First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech. Whistleblowing is speech. You begin with that, and you try to figure out how to put the circle into the square. I'll give you an example. United States passed an incredibly important law, they amended the obstruction of justice statute, saying that if any whistleblower gives information about a federal crime to federal law enforcement, any retaliation is a felony, 10 years in prison. So even if you have national security information, it is our view that if you go to the appropriate law enforcement authority, no one can touch you. And if you're retaliated against, those people are committing a felony. So you have to think it through. But we also have these supersonic whistleblower laws: securities fraud, foreign corruption, government contracting, tax fraud, money laundering, which pay rewards. Everyone finally figured out that the whistleblower is the #1 source of all fraud detection. So they've created these incentives, and they've brought in billions and billions of dollars to the U.S. Treasury. And they've been the most successful fraud detection laws ever.
Interesting.
Going back to that Birkenfeld case, you won't believe it. Every known Swiss American who had a Swiss bank account that was known shut down.
Wow.
Over $16 billion collected in fines and penalties. So the money they gave him was small.
So 100 is not, it's a rounding
nothing
error.
compared.
Why? Because the Swiss banking authorities figured out that the bankers could make way more money turning in their U.S. clients than processing them. And we had whistleblowers in a whole slew of banks over there. The whole system collapsed because those with the inside information started blowing the whistle.
Let me ask you about another specific case that's gotten a lot of attention. Reality Winner has been severely punished for what she exposed. Did she go about things in the wrong way?
Well,
Do you think the punishment
unfortunately,
was
she
appropriate?
did. She went straight to the press.
Rather than trying to find that appropriate authority.
In my opinion, in almost every national security case, there is a way to go forward and not end in prison. Because there's a thing known as pre-publication review, where a national security whistleblower can take all of their whistleblower information and submit it for this review process. And the government has to declassify it or say what's out or in. And you can take that straight to federal district court for an injunction where a judge will look at the information the government's trying to suppress and make an independent judgment. And it's our experience, having used that in the national security context, that it generally works. You can generally get your information out to the public with no fear of retribution. Problem, nobody knows about it. The problem is all these very good-hearted people who want to do the right thing don't have information on how to blow the whistle. It's very unique. That's why I wrote the handbook. That's what we're all about.
Very interesting.
So any potential whistleblower, listen to Steve. Read his book. He's got a lot of good information for you.
Great to have you, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Next up on Rising, the president's tweets about Baltimore and Congressman Elijah Cummings ignited a firestorm over the weekend. And also, Kamala Harris unveils her version of Medicare for All.
Is there a recession on the horizon? Could it impact the 2020 election? Team Rising will tackle this when Rising returns.